But you know, we really become human at the point of reaching out and risking and trusting to bring people in. I've told this story before, and I've even written about it, but it's such a great story that it gives me a joy just to talk about it. And that is, I had a student. There are many things in my classes that I call voluntarily mandatory. Many of you know about a lot of them. One that's very voluntarily mandatory is that everybody do something for somebody else. And do you know, I come from a fairly affluent school, as many of you know. And the people there, sometimes the students drive Mercedes. We drive Fords. So all right, I get there just the same. But they come to you and they actually say to you, what do you mean do something for somebody? What's there to do? You know, I get very close to strangulation. I contain myself. I say, what's there to do? You know, one of these kids came to me, his name is Joel, and he's become notorious because I tell this story so much, and he loves it, and I have his permission to tell it. But he said to me, actually, what's there to do? And I said, Joel, come here. And not far from USC, there was a convalescent home, and I brought him in there. And, you know, everybody should go if you want to see the future, go to a convalescent home. I brought him inside, and here were a lot of aged people lying around in beds in old cotton gowns, staring at the ceiling. You know, senility doesn't come from old age. It comes from not being loved and not feeling useful. As long as you feel useful, you'll never be old. And you know, don't let anybody else, don't depend on others. You do it yourself. You stay active. You find things to do, and meaningful things. Not busy work, meaningful things. And then you see when you get to be 170, Buscaglia was right. Anyway, he walked in and he looked around and he said, what'll I do here? And I said, nothing, Joel. He said, I don't know anything about gerontology. I said, good. I said, you see that lady over there? You go over and say hello. That's all? That's all. He went over to her and he said, she must have been sent by God. He went over and he said to her, hello. And she looked at him sort of suspiciously for a minute. She said, are you a relative? And he said, no, I'm not. And she said, good, I hate my relatives. Sit down, son. And he sat down and they started to rap. Oh, my goodness, the things she told him. Like I said, you know, when we ignore our sense of history, we're doomed to repeat everything over again. This woman had known so many wondrous things about life, about love, about pain, about suffering, even about approaching death, with which she had to make some kind of peace. And pretty soon that day began known as Joel's Day. And he would come and all the people would come there. And you know what she did, which was so wonderful? She asked her daughter, whom she hated, because she used to say, my daughter comes reluctantly, I can tell. The old. She said, bring a gown. And she was there propped up in her bed one day for Joel in a beautiful satin dressing gown with a very low décolleté. She was having her hair done again, which she hadn't done in ages. Why have your hair done if nobody sees you? The people in that home don't look at you. They do to you. I don't want to be done to. Don't do me any favors. Better you should look at me and say, how are you, Buscaglia, and mean it, than do for me. Wonderful, wonderful things began to happen on Joel's Day. And probably the greatest triumphant moment in my educational career came one day when, without knowing it, I walked out on campus, and there was Joel like the Pied Piper with about 30 little old people behind him, hobbling to a football game. What's there to do? Look around you, what's there to do? There's a lonely person next to you to touch. There's a hassled sales lady that needs you to tell her that she's great. What's there to do? It isn't monumental. It's teeny little things that make the difference, side by side by side. I'm going to read you something that Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote in her last book called Death, the Final Stage of Growth. She says, what is important is to realize that whether we understand fully who we are or what will happen when we die, it's our purpose to grow as human beings, to look within ourselves to find and build upon that source of peace and understanding and strength that is our individual self. And then, and the accent is mine, to reach out to others with love and acceptance and patient guidance in the hope of what we may become together. I can't do it alone. It takes two to see one. Four see even clearer. And everybody in this audience sees even clearer.